Hey guys, I'm Mark, and in today's video I'm gonna show you how I built these two knife blocks. So you might think about why I've made two blocks. Well, I'll talk about it later, but now let's see the building process of the first one. My idea was to cut several layers out of 8mm birch plywood, thus I've started the build with cutting a shape out of a piece of paper that will help me to draw the first layer. After I finished drawing the lines, I used the jigsaw for the cuts. If I had a bandsaw or just a better jigsaw blade which doesn't cut too rough edges, this phase would have been much easier. However, I managed to cut them like that, so I started to sand the edges with my orbital sander, because I don't have a belt sander. I really miss that, especially when I wanted to smooth out flat surfaces, but it was great to challenge myself with limited tools. My jigsaw is quite easy to use, but even with a well-drawn sample piece I couldn't be able to cut exactly the same shapes with that, so I had to do a lot of sanding on this piece. I was lining up all the layers roughly and clamp them together, then I started to sand with a 40 grit flap disc on my angle grinder to tackle the problem. When I finished the rough shaping, I started to make the slots for the blades. I marked them on every third piece of layers, then measured the thickest blade with a caliper to adjust the rudder to that height. For the sake of simplicity, I used that thickness for all the slots except for the scissors. I tried to make the slots as tight as I could, but it's not a big deal if you make it a little bigger than marked, especially at the bottom. With all the slots routed, I started to glue all the pieces together. I used regular Gorilla Wood glue, but I took care of not using too much between the layers with blades. Basically, you just need to glue them around the edges. After that, I did a little bit sanding on uneven surfaces, again with a 120 grit flap disc and with the orbital sander. The rasp was a good tool to make precise angles. I chose Tangoil to finish the blocks. This is a natural oil that is food safe, plus it has a really nice look on this piece. It protects the wood without any toxic substance in it, so I highly recommend it to use for kitchen projects. So here it is. I really like how it came out, but at the end of the build I've changed my mind. I realized it's not the best idea to make a knife block out of brand new plywood, since the glue that holds the veneers together outgasses formaldehyde for a certain period of time, which is a carcinogen. I didn't want to keep the blades in contact with that adhesive, so I made a second block out of regular wood that doesn't contain any unhealthy materials. This piece was made like exactly the same as the first block. I cleaned the surface of the board, which was already planed, then I marked the shapes with the first block. After that I was cutting the layers with the jigsaw. I didn't need as much layers as for the first one, since the board I used was 1 inch thick, so I've cut 7 pieces instead of 21. That's why it was much faster to build. As I said, the process was the same. After marking and routing the slots, I roughly sanded the flat surfaces with the angle grinder, then glued all the pieces together. If I was able to change, I would have used the joiner or thickness planer, if I had one, for the layers to make them 100% flat. That would make it look even better. Finally, I used Tangoil again, but this time it gave a different look than on plywood. It isn't bad at all, but I think it highlights the grain better on the first block. Eventually, I'm satisfied how it turned out. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit that subscribe button and see you next time.